Welcome, the anointed ones. The greatest threat to the status quo is someone who no longer needs their approval. If you're here, it's because you've likely been labeled the villain by those who never dared to understand you. And let's be real, that title suits you just fine now. It's funny, isn't it? People called you the bad guy simply because you chose self-respect over their approval, independence over their control. And here's the kicker. Studies show that people fear most what they can't control or predict. So naturally, you've become their worst nightmare. Today, we're diving into the surprising reasons why mastering this so-called villain role has turned you into a force to be reckoned with. People are now cautious, even fearful of crossing your path, because they sense that the old you, the one who would bend or apologize, is long gone. This isn't about being cold or cruel. It's about knowing your worth, setting boundaries, and refusing to play small. So buckle up, because we're about to expose what truly happens when you embrace this misunderstood power, and why, ironically, people respect you more than ever for it. Number 1. The villain isn't what they thought. People called you the villain because you revealed truths they desperately wanted to ignore. You didn't set out to be some rebel or to make others uncomfortable. You simply chose to live authentically, to see through illusions, and to expose the hollow beliefs people cling to. This wasn't just about challenging opinions. It was about holding a mirror up to people's insecurities, and for many, that reflection was too much to handle. When others tried to manipulate you, guilt-trip you, or pressure you to fit in, you refused to play along. You saw the games, the double standards, the quiet hypocrisies, and decided not to go along with them. But by rejecting their expectations, you unintentionally became a threat. This shift unsettles people more than they'll ever admit. They called you cold or unfeeling, but in reality, they fear your clarity. You see, most people build their entire sense of self on stories they were told, stories they made up to feel better about themselves, stories that don't even hold up under close inspection. They're not ready to question these narratives, and the fact that you've already broken free from them is terrifying to them. It's as if they're watching you escape from a cage they didn't even realize they were in, and they're left questioning their own choices. The truth is, people are uncomfortable with anyone who steps outside their understanding, and your decision to live honestly and without illusions has made you the villain in their limited worldview. But they're not just intimidated, they're also in awe. On some level, they recognize that your refusal to live a lie is a form of courage they haven't yet found in themselves. And so, while they may fear crossing you deep down, they can't help but respect you for it. Number 2, you became unapologetic about who you are. The moment you stopped seeking approval, everything changed. People could no longer hold power over you, and that's when the fear set in. When you were willing to bend, to adjust, to play nice, it was easy for others to feel comfortable around you. They could push boundaries, make requests, even subtly manipulate you, knowing you cared enough to keep the peace. But once you dropped the need for their approval, the balance shifted in a way they didn't expect, and suddenly, they didn't know how to approach you anymore. Living without the need for others' validation is like stepping into a different realm. You don't just gain independence, you gain a level of control over your own life that most people can't even comprehend. You're no longer afraid of disappointing anyone, and you're no longer caught up in trying to meet other people's standards. This freedom makes you unpredictable, and that unsettles people. They don't know what version of you they're going to get, the one who's generous and patient, or the one who simply walks away without looking back. Your boundaries aren't malleable anymore, and that unpredictability puts you in control, a position most people aren't used to seeing you in. People fear this because they're used to others playing by the unspoken rules of approval and conformity. When you step outside of that, it shakes them, because they know they can no longer expect you to act out of fear of rejection or disapproval. They can't manipulate you with guilt or social pressure, and that powerlessness makes them nervous. Your refusal to seek anyone's approval has become your shield and, in their eyes, a kind of weapon. They don't know how to control you anymore, and that fear is a reflection of their own insecurities, not of anything you did wrong. Number 3, People can't handle your brutal honesty. People fear your honesty because it's not the sugar-coated, polite kind. It's the unfiltered, no-holds-barred truth that most people are terrified to hear. When you speak, you don't dance around feelings or tiptoe to keep others comfortable. You get straight to the point. And that kind of directness has become rare in a world where most people are trained to soften the truth or disguise their real thoughts. But you're done with that. You've learned that honesty isn't cruelty, it's clarity, and you're no longer willing to dilute your words just to make others feel at ease. This makes people nervous because, deep down, they know you won't hesitate to say what others are too afraid to admit. While others wrap their opinions in pleasantries, you cut right to the core, even if it's uncomfortable. And that directness often leaves people exposed. It reveals parts of themselves they'd rather ignore and forces them to confront their own flaws, shortcomings, or hidden agendas. They can't hide behind small talk or false pretenses with you, and that makes them feel vulnerable. Your honesty also comes with a certain level of strength. People sense that you're not saying things just for effect or to stir the pot. You speak with conviction, and that means your words hit deeper. It's not just about speaking the truth, it's about speaking it with the kind of confidence that can't be brushed off or dismissed. So when you call out fakeness, manipulations, or lies, people don't just feel uncomfortable, they feel seen, and that's the real reason they fear your honesty. It holds up a mirror to them, one they can't escape, and in a world full of illusions, there's nothing scarier than someone who speaks the raw, unfiltered truth without flinching. Number 4. You've mastered emotional control and resilience. Your emotional control has become a shield, and people don't know how to handle it. They've watched you weather insults, mind games, and attempts to pull you into drama, only to realize you remain unaffected. You're not reacting to petty provocations, not taking the bait, and not letting anyone's opinion shake you. And this, more than anything, makes people uneasy. Most people are used to others reacting. They rely on emotions as a way to manipulate, guilt, or steer others toward certain behaviors. But with you, they see that all their tactics fall flat. No matter what's thrown your way, you don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you lose control. This unbreakable calmness sends a clear message. You're not someone they can push around. What's more, your resilience goes beyond just ignoring insults or petty jabs. It's a fundamental shift in how you process the world. You've reached a point where you no longer let other people's opinions define you, and that makes you nearly invincible in their eyes. When they realize you won't crumble, no matter how hard they try, it disrupts their entire approach. They see someone who has mastered the art of letting things roll off, who doesn't internalize others' judgments, and who won't give anyone the power to ruin their peace of mind. People fear this level of emotional self-mastery because it makes them feel powerless. They can't touch you on an emotional level, which is where most people feel they have leverage. This unshakable composure turns the tables. Suddenly, they're the ones second-guessing themselves, wondering why their tactics don't work. They're left realizing that while they're playing games, you're on a completely different level, and they're outmatched. Number 5. Your boundaries are unbreakable. Your boundaries are now an unyielding force, and people know it. They've tried crossing lines with you in the past, pushing limits to see how much you'd tolerate. But those days are over. The moment someone even edges toward testing your limits, they're met with an unmistakable response that leaves no room for debate. This isn't about putting up walls out of distrust or keeping people at a distance for no reason. It's about a deep, unwavering self-respect that has become the foundation of your interactions. People are taken aback by this strength because boundaries, especially firm ones, are rare. Many are used to others compromising, bending, or making exceptions in the name of keeping the peace. They're accustomed to pushing people just a little further until they get what they want. But with you, every boundary is non-negotiable. You've made it clear that your values, time, and mental peace aren't up for discussion, and this realization hits people hard. They know that any attempt to overstep will be met with consequences. Whether that's you cutting ties, speaking up without hesitation, or simply walking away without looking back. This level of self-respect is intimidating because it's solid, unbreakable. There's no wiggle room or vulnerability they can exploit, no way to manipulate you into letting things slide. They're forced to interact with you on your terms, or not at all. And that power dynamic is new, something they're not prepared for. They know they can't bend or breach your boundaries, and that sends a message. You're someone who knows their worth and demands that others respect it. It's a level of firmness that makes people think twice before even attempting to push your limits. Number 6, your silence speaks louder than words. Your silence has become a force of its own, and people are starting to understand its impact. Where once they may have expected you to argue, explain, or react, now they're met with something far more unsettling. Your absence. The absence of your words, your energy, and your attention leaves a void that speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. People feel this shift deeply because without your reactions to feed off, they're left with nothing but their own thoughts and insecurities. Silence, for you, isn't about avoiding confrontation or holding back out of fear. It's an intentional choice, a boundary in itself. It's a way of showing that not everything deserves your time or response, and that certain behaviors no longer warrant your engagement. People who try to bait you into drama or provoke a reaction are left empty-handed, realizing they no longer hold any power over your emotions or your peace. And that lack of control is something they find both confusing and unsettling. By not responding, you've taken away the validation they seek, and in doing so, you reveal their dependence on your attention. They start to notice the weight of your silence, recognizing that your presence is not something to be taken lightly. This quiet withdrawal creates a mirror, forcing them to confront their actions without the distraction of your words. They're left wondering what they did wrong, questioning their own motives, and feeling the unsettling realization that you've moved beyond their reach. This newfound silence becomes a statement, a reminder that you no longer invest in pointless exchanges or entertain negativity. It's a clear boundary that says you're no longer available to be pulled into anyone else's chaos. And the powerful thing is, they feel it, even if you never say a word. Number 7. You embrace your shadow and let it empower you. You've stopped hiding the parts of yourself that others might find uncomfortable, and that level of self-acceptance has become one of your greatest strengths. Where most people spend their lives trying to bury their insecurities, flaws, and mistakes, you've done the opposite. You've faced those darker parts of yourself, the fears, the doubts, the so-called flaws, and rather than seeing them as weaknesses, you've learned to embrace them as essential pieces of who you are. This kind of self-acceptance is powerful, and it unsettles people who haven't yet faced their own shadows. By embracing your shadow, you've become unshakable. You're no longer vulnerable to the judgments or criticisms of others because you already know and own every part of yourself, both the light and the dark. People can't use your flaws against you when you've already integrated them into your identity. They see someone who is unapologetically authentic, who isn't pretending to be perfect or trying to fit a mold, and that scares them. It challenges the facade they present to the world, and it forces them to confront parts of themselves they'd rather keep hidden. When people see you, they see someone who isn't held back by shame or fear of judgment, someone who can take their imperfections and channel them into strength. It's not that you're without flaws, it's that you've accepted them and learned to turn them into a source of resilience. This terrifies those who are still chained to their own self-doubt, who go through life afraid of being exposed. They're left wondering how you've managed to reach a level of self-empowerment they can't even imagine. And deep down, they fear that one day they might have to face their own shadows too. Number 8. People see you are no longer afraid to walk alone. Your independence has become a quiet, undeniable strength, and people notice it immediately. You no longer seek out approval, validation, or companionship to feel whole, and that shift has changed the way others see you. While most people fear being alone or need the constant comfort of belonging to a group, you've learned that walking alone doesn't weaken you, it empowers you. People see that you're unafraid to carve out your own path, even if it means going against the grain, and that level of self-reliance unnerves them. When you detach from the need for approval, you become immune to manipulation. People quickly realize that they can no longer use acceptance or belonging as leverage over you because you've made it clear that your path isn't dependent on anyone else's opinion. They can't hold their approval over your head or try to sway you with the promise of inclusion. And that's unsettling to them because, for most people, acceptance is a form of currency. It's how they secure loyalty or control. But with you, that currency has no value. You're already at peace with yourself, and that internal validation makes you nearly untouchable. Your willingness to walk alone shows others that you won't compromise your values, your dreams, or your integrity just to fit in. It sends a powerful message. You're someone who isn't afraid to stand alone if it means staying true to yourself. And for those who rely on group dynamics to feel secure, your independence is intimidating. It reveals a level of strength they can't shake, a freedom they might envy, but can't match. They're left realizing that you're not someone who needs anyone else to define your worth or guide your journey, and that independence is a force they can't influence or control. Number 9. You call out fakeness without mercy. You've developed a sixth sense for spotting fake behavior, and you've got no problem calling it out. People know that when they try to hide behind a mask or manipulate the situation, you'll see right through it. You don't tolerate pretense, and this raw honesty is something many can't handle. For most, maintaining facades is a way to navigate the world without rocking the boat. But with you, those illusions crumble instantly. You don't just notice the act, they don't even get the chance to finish it before you call them out on it without mercy. Your fearlessness in exposing fakeness is what sets you apart. While others might hesitate or avoid confrontation to keep the peace, you've learned that sometimes the truth is more important than politeness. It's not just that you see through their lies, it's that you aren't afraid to make them feel uncomfortable for even trying to deceive you. This is a level of transparency most people can't even imagine, let alone match. They're so used to playing their games, keeping their masks in place, that they're rattled by someone who doesn't just refuse to play along, but actively calls out the charade. And that's what terrifies them. They know that any attempt to pull one over on you will be met with a brutal, honest confrontation. You've made it clear that you won't tolerate dishonesty or manipulation, and that kind of authenticity feels like a threat to people who are used to operating in the shadows of deception. Their games no longer work on you, and that's something they can't stand to face. You've taken away their ability to control the narrative, and they're left exposed, knowing they can't hide their true intentions from you anymore. Number 10. You don't need revenge. You let karma handle that. You've learned that revenge is a trap, a cycle of negativity that only drags you down to the same level as those who wronged you. Instead, you've mastered the art of letting karma take the wheel, trusting that it will serve justice in ways you never could. People find this unsettling because they're used to seeing others react, retaliate, and engage in petty conflicts. But with you, there's no emotional outburst, no attempt to settle scores. You've made peace with the fact that life has a way of balancing the scales, even when you don't lift a finger. This makes others uneasy because they can feel the weight of their own actions catching up with them. They know they've done wrong, and they can't shake the nagging feeling that they'll eventually pay the price. And that's where your true power lies. You're not out seeking vengeance, not chasing them down to make them feel your pain. You're simply watching from the sidelines, remaining calm, composed, and unfazed as their own actions begin to unfold. It's a silent strength that only increases their discomfort, because they know they're on the receiving end of something far more powerful than your anger, the cold, impartial hand of karma. This forces them to confront the fact that they can't control the outcome, and it sends a clear message. You are not to be messed with. While they fear your reaction, they realize that their worst fear is the invisible force they cannot escape, karma, and that you're simply a spectator, detached and unaffected, as it delivers its inevitable consequences. It's a chilling realization that the universe will deal with them in ways you never could, and that's far more terrifying than anything you could do in the moment. Number 11. People fear your growth because they can't keep up. Your growth has become a silent force that leaves others scrambling to keep up, and that scares them more than anything. You've evolved beyond the old dynamics, the ones where you played by everyone else's rules, where you needed to fit into the same circles, or where you sought external validation. Now, you're moving in a direction they can't follow, and they're left behind, watching from the sidelines as you rise. The worst part? They can feel their own stagnation. They're stuck in the same place, still clinging to old patterns, while you're out here redefining yourself and thriving. This scares people because it makes them feel irrelevant in your story. They can sense that you no longer need them to validate your worth, and that realization forces them to confront their own sense of inadequacy. While you're pushing boundaries and growing, they're left questioning why they're not moving forward with you. Your evolution exposes their own limitations, and that discomfort is something they can't ignore. You've made it clear that your journey is your own, and they no longer play a central role in it. The more you thrive, the smaller they feel. You're living proof that growth is possible, and that terrifies them because it forces them to face the truth. They've chosen to stay stagnant, to stay within familiar comfort zones, while you've chosen to break free. You've outgrown the need for the approval or companionship of people who are stuck in the past, and now they see you as a reminder of their own failure to evolve. And that stings, because watching you soar only highlights their inability to do the same. Number 12. You're an untouchable energy, not inviting, not intimidated. Your energy now radiates an undeniable strength that others can feel from a distance, and it's not something they can just walk into or manipulate. You've stopped seeking approval or validation, and that shift has transformed your presence into something far more potent. You no longer have to explain yourself or make people understand who you are. Your aura speaks volumes without you uttering a word, and what it says is clear. You command respect, not through force or intimidation, but through sheer presence and self-assurance. People sense that you're untouchable, like a force of nature they can't control or bend to their will. There's no longer a need for you to prove yourself or be accepted by others. Your energy is both powerful and distant, and it doesn't need to engage with every passing person. You've learned to keep your space sacred, and anyone who tries to enter that space without respect feels an immediate pullback. They instinctively know that crossing you would come with consequences, ones they're not ready to face. Whether it's through your actions, your silence, or just the way you carry yourself, you've created a barrier they can't break through. This untouchable energy makes them hesitate. They no longer feel entitled to your time or attention. In fact, they're unnerved by how effortlessly you can shut down attempts to manipulate, control, or even engage with you in ways that serve their agenda. You're no longer intimidated by anyone's opinions, and this confidence is something they can't easily handle. They may try to approach you, but deep down, they know they can't touch what you've built. And that's what makes you so untouchable, the self-awareness and power to stand alone without fear of losing anything. In the end, your transformation into someone who is not only unbreakable but untouchable is a result of your unwavering commitment to growth, self-awareness, and authenticity. You've shed the need for approval, the dependency on validation, and the weight of others' expectations. People are now left watching with awe and fear as you continue to evolve beyond what they thought was possible. They can sense the shift. You are no longer someone they can manipulate or control, but a force they have to reckon with quietly and powerfully. Your silence, your boundaries, your honesty, and your unwavering growth are all pieces of this incredible journey that have made you who you are. You've mastered the art of not only surviving, but thriving in a world that often seeks to undermine and limit you. Now, as you move forward, those who have once thought they could define your worth or your path are left to confront the uncomfortable truth. They no longer have that power. And while they may fear the strength you've gained, the real beauty lies in your ability to remain unshaken, untouched, and unapologetically true to who you are. You've become a living example of what happens when someone stops playing by society's rules and starts writing their own. You're the embodiment of strength, resilience, and freedom, a force of nature that can't be stopped, only admired from afar. So keep walking your path, knowing that those who matter will follow, and those who don't will be left in your wake. You've become untouchable, and in that, you've already won. If you felt the power of this transformation and recognize the untouchable strength within yourself, then you're already on the right path. But if you want to continue mastering your journey, tapping into more of your hidden potential and discovering the secrets that will keep you ahead, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Join this community of people who refuse to be controlled, who are walking their own path with purpose and power. Don't miss out on the content that's going to fuel your growth and keep you at the top of your game. Subscribe now, because this is only the beginning of your unstoppable rise. Stay tuned, stay empowered, and let's continue thriving together. God bless you.